This video is the tutorial for the geometric plate, which is activity 134, CAD modeling skills on Project Lead the Way. We will be starting at step 3, so we're going to create a new component and then a 4x6 rectangle. So new component, we're going to call it geometric plate. Create a new sketch on the front view, and then our rectangle, just to double check, is 4 inches vertical, so that would be our height, and then 6 inches horizontal, so that would be our width. So we're gonna do a center point rectangle. So go to rectangle, center rectangle, click on the origin, and it makes it centered for you. So our height is 4, tab, 6, and we have our 4x6 rectangle. Next step, we're going to add 3 polygons inside the sketched rectangle. So a pentagon, a hexagon, and a triangle. So we're going to first do the inscribed pentagon using a radius of 0.35. So create polygon. It said inscribed. I'm going to place it. So we have, it was 0.35. Hit tab. And that would be the number of sides. Whoops. I don't know why it went back there. 3, 5. Tab, there we go. And then 5 sides. So now we have our pentagon. Next one is a circumscribed hexagon with a radius of 0.25. Create polygon, circumscribed polygon. 0.25. It's already 6 sides, so we can just hit enter. Voila. And next we have our equilateral triangle with a side length of 1.25. So for that one, we're going to use an edge polygon. Oops. Edge. So we're just going to draw a line, which this is 1.25. You just click to place the line at that length, and then we just type in 3 for our triangle. So 1.25, we're going to drag over to here. Now we're going to add the following geometric and dimensional constraints so that it then looks like this. All right, so we do have 4 and 6. First thing we're going to do is the center of the pentagon is on a vertical line through the center of the rectangle. So we need to draw first a vertical line at the center of the rectangle since we don't have that. So we're going to go to our line tool, construction, midpoint, the X with the triangle, just draw it straight down. Hit escape. Now we're going to have this be centered on this line because it says that the center of the pentagon is on a vertical line through the center of the rectangle. We're going to do coincident. You're going to hold down the shift key so that you see the X with the triangle. Click, let go, and then click on the line. So it creates the center of the pentagon is on the center line. So again, to show you what to do with that, coincident constraint, hold down your shift key, hover on that bottom line till you see the X with the triangle, and click. Let go of the shift key, then click on the line. All right, so that part is done. B, one side of the pentagon is horizontal and located at 0.5 inches above the center point of the rectangle. So we want to make sure that this line is horizontal. So if it doesn't select the line, just zoom in, click it, it's now horizontal. And we want it to be from here to here is 0.5 inches. So that's the one side of the pentagon is horizontal. There we go, we added that on, and it's 0.5 inches above the center point, which is that dimension right there. I'm just going to drag this outside here. All right, next thing is one side of the hexagon is parallel with the 6-inch side of the rectangle. So we want, this is the 6-inch side, so we want one of the sides of our hexagon to be parallel. So we already had this selected, so that's our one side that's parallel, and then just click, I would do the topmost side of the hexagon. So you just click on this line and this one. You could do the bottom too if you want, it really doesn't matter, it's just this one's closest. Next is the center of the hexagon is coincident with the diagonal of the rectangle. So if you want to see what that means, that's this portion here. So we want coincident. So this is coincident with this line. We then want the center of the hexagon is 0.5 inches below the top side of the rectangle. So 0.5 from the top. So add another dimension from here, the center of the hexagon to the top. It's 0.5 inches. Notice how it moved up on that diagonal line since we made it coincident on that line. The next thing, the one vertex of the equilateral triangle is coincident with the corner of the rectangle. So if we see here, this is what it's supposed to look like. So coincident, really pick any corner you want. I'm just going to click on this one and then click on the corner of the rectangle. Notice how right now it is outside. The last thing we're going to do is the center of the equilateral triangle is coincident with a diagonal of the rectangle. So this one right here. So you should already still be in your coincident constraint. So you just have to click the center of the triangle and this line. If yours comes up with a degree of 90 over on this side when you constrain it to the corner, escape out of your coincident constraint, click on that 90 degrees and delete it, then go back into the coincident constraint and add the center to this line. If you try and do this before deleting the 90 degrees, it's not going to let you do it. All right, moving on, we're now going to create 3 patterns that we see down here with our 3 shapes. So we're going to do a pattern of hexagons, pattern of pentagons, and a pattern of triangles. So first we're going to finish our sketch. Estimate the extrude. So it doesn't actually give us the dimensions for everything. So we're just going to come up with our own. Sorry, I thought I gave it to us. So we're going to create these patterns first. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. There we go. So we're going to create a circle with construction. And you want to make it so that it hits this point, so you can just extend it to be here, which would be a diameter of 1 inch. Which if we add a diameter onto it, did it put that on here already? I guess it did. It's saying it's over constrained. But anyway, if you would like, if I delete that, if you make your circle and just type in 1 inch, it will constrain it there. So diameter of 1. I'm gonna put it this way, outside here. Oops. There we go. Now we're going to add a circular pattern because we want the hexagons to rotate around this circle. So for objects, you have to select each line separately. So that all 5, it should say 5 selected. If you click the circle, it will add it as an object to rotate. You want to hit select next to center point, then click your circle. And we want 5 of them. So now we have our 5 pentagons, which looks like the one here. We do want them to not be construction, which you can see it automatically makes it like this one once it's completed, just so you know it's not making it a construction. All right, also, before we move on, actually, to point out, we're still in the same sketch, sketch 1. We're not adding sketches every time we do something on this sketch. This is all on the same one. Next, we're going to add a rectangular pattern with the hexagons. So we're going to do create, rectangular pattern, We want to then select here. So we're going to zoom in a little bit. Select all of these sides. So 6 selected. Direction. It's going to go in both directions. So we're going to select here and here. That's the directions we want it to go in. We want it to be, you can just drag these out to see which one it's talking about, and then we want ones down this way. So we don't want 3 for this one. All right, so notice that it's changing the second number, so we want to make this 2. That's the, 2. So that's the direction going down. We also want it to be a suppression so that we can delete this one. If we look here, it looks like they're probably about a 1/2 inch, so we're gonna say that spacing between them is a 1/2 inch. Ooh, maybe extend. Let's make the spacing 1. No, 7.5. All right, that looks about right. So distance is 0.75. That looks about what we have in the image over there. And then for here, we'll do the same thing, 0.75. Let's see. So if there's anything, so that's centered. So it's in a little bit. So it's not 0.75. It should be a little bit in more. Let's do 0.65. See if that looks a little more like it. A little bit, maybe 0.7. See how that looks. All right, we'll leave it at 0.65. It looks a little more like what it is supposed to be. For this one, 0.75 looks good. I don't think any lower is where it needs to go. Maybe a little bit lower, because this is kind of almost lined up here. Although that is about where it is. Let's maybe make it 0.8. Sure, we'll say 0.65 and then 0.8. And then since this one's intersecting, we just select it, goes away. And then we have our pattern. There we go. You can look. That looks about what this is. And voila. Let's just, I want to see something real quick. So it looks like the bottom of this lines up with here. Just about. And this should just be below here. All right, we're going to leave it where it is. I think this is a good pattern to have. All right, so last thing we're going to do is the triangle. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 triangles. So we want to do a rectangular pattern. Objects is the 3 lines of the triangle. We have to hit select with direction, and we want it to be on this diagonal line. So we do want this to be 7. And let's just drag this back. Let's try 5. Although we want, I don't know why this is so small for some reason. Let's do extent. So it just barely reaches there, so we don't want this to be, yeah, 1.4 looks about right. And then we have our triangles. So here is our geometric plate. We have our hexagon. we have our our pentagons, our hexagon, and then our triangles, which just to look at here, we have, they're just about lined up. Everything looks pretty even here. Maybe let's move these hexagons out a little bit more. They look a little crammed. Let's make them 0.7. That looks a little bit more like where they should be spacing wise. Yep. Okay. So now moving on, we finish our sketch, estimate the extrusion. We're going to see, let's try extrude. Let's do 1 inch. It's a bit big, so 0.5. It looks about maybe a little less, maybe 0.25. Let's see what 0.25 does. Yeah, that looks better. So 0.25, save it at this point. Geometric plate. Come back here. This is eventually what we want it to look like with the 3. So we're going to deselect portions of the triangles to get these ones here. Oh, excuse me. So we want 3 triangles with 3 arrows, I guess I should say, with 1 in between each of them. So we're going to go back to editing our extrusion, go to our front view, and we're going to start deselecting these triangles here. So looks like this is one we wanted, so we want all of this back here deselected so that this arrow is still there. So let's deselect, the one in front of it. This is kind of getting annoying. That little thing there, there we go. Kind of in my way. There was 3, so let's skip. Can this move? There we go, put that over there. And then that third one could be here. So everything is deselected except for what's outlined in red right now. Click OK, and then we have the 3 arrows just like in here. All right, so next thing, we're going to create a sketch on top of here and extrude these pentagons. So I'm going to go to our front view, create sketch on top of here. We want to project. We want to select these lines of the pentagons. Oops, I'm sorry, not that one. This one. So if you click something you're not supposed to, like I keep doing, just click it again and it deselects it. Okay. So we want these to be projected. Click OK. They should turn purple. Then we can hit Finish Sketch. And now we need to add these hexagons. Or I keep saying hexagons, I'm sorry, pentagons. So project any 3 pentagons, which we want these 3, onto the new sketch. And we're now going to use the offset tool to push them out. Let's see, 0.1 inches outside. So we're going to go back into editing sketch 2. We want to offset so it looks like a C inside of a C. So we want it to be 0.1. If it does not, the red doesn't go outside the blue, just click this arrow and it moves it in the other area. So if yours doesn't do that, that's what we're going to do. Click OK. We have to create another offset, 0.1. And then one more for that last one, 0.1. So now we have the 3 offsets of our pentagons. Now we're going to add some fillets. Make sure it does say to have it as 0.2, so we want 0.2. Click here, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, and 0.2. I'm going to do the same for these, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. And we're going to add onto our last one. Okay. Now it's going to look very chaotic, but all of these is just doing from here to the fillet as to what the dimension is. I don't understand why it's doing that, but we now have that so we can finish our sketch. We're going to zoom out a little bit, go to our home view. We're going to extrude. You want to just have this outside portion selected. So if you want, go to the front view and just make sure that it's the in-between area being selected. So when you click it, this is how it should look selected. All right. Do they tell us for an extrusion how far they want us to go? Nope. So we can make it whatever we want. So let's see what 0.5 looks like. That looks about right to the design here. So we're going to do 0.5. Voila. On our home view, that's what they look like. And now we are done. You just got to save it because this is the next video down here. So once you have all this extruded, save it, click OK. And then that little check mark means it's saved, and we are done with the geometric plate.